Now, one amazing quality of Gurudev is being pointed out as Āngla-bhāshā-Viduttamāya Namah. We salute to the one who was so expert, or one who was very knowledgeable, or one who was very eloquent in the English language. One who knew the English language in such a way that he could just mold and explain something that could not be communicated in that language. Nobody could dream of. It is not that masters before him, because India was under British rule from the 18th century, and for the, family camp. I mentioned about this letter, and it's over the internet, and it can be read out to you, that when the British came to India, they ruled India not just by power, but by strategy. Once I was in Delhi, and one diplomat who was attending my talks said, "Can I come and visit you?" Elderly man came, was talking to me, and he was asking a few questions. And Delhi's favorite question is, India has been a slave. It must be because of our religion and our lifestyle. I always just turned down. You think the foreigners came to pick up peanuts in India? As long as India was cultural, as long as India was spiritual, India was that golden goose that everybody wanted to come and loot. And they looted and looted and looted and looted. And they continue to loot even now. It has always been the land of riches, not just rich in wealth, minerals, spices, even in gold. Even today they are finding gold in temples that are unimaginable. Somnath temple was looted how many times? Just one temple was looted so many times. When the British came to India, and this I thought was, people love to circulate some letter in the, internet, this feel-good India feeling, this thing, messing up whole of India and then clean up India campaign. Yeah. And nobody will do it, because there's a nice saying, there was a job that anybody could do, that everybody could do. But everybody thought that somebody would do it, and therefore nobody did a job that anybody could do. That is typically what India has become today. This diplomat to India, who had come to India, when he wrote back to the king or the queen of England, he says, "I have never seen a country like this. It's impossible to rule a country where I see no beggars, whose culture and values who are so rooted in their culture and values that to rule over these people, I see impossible. You can rule only over corrupt people. You can rule over only needy and, sensuous people. As you'll see later on, those who live a life of culture, those who live a life of self-discipline, those who live a life of values, nobody can rule over them." He writes there that the only way we can rule over them is introduce our education system. And even after they are gone, we remain slaves. Today we are so ashamed to learn our own mother tongue. In fact, to speak it, we are even more embarrassed. And I'm telling you, even now children in India, even children of the villages, even the children of the streets, you tell them, Hari Om Namaste, I don't know how you wonder that even how does a 1-year-old shy away from doing Namaste or Hari Om, but you tell him, give me a high five. They immediately do it. Yeah? You say hi and bye, they will do it. See to what extent our language is being destroyed. And with every language destroyed, the world is beginning to now archive those languages because we can record it. But they say every day, if you watch National Geographic, every day we are losing one dialect. This is what is happening. And with every language lost, a certain way of thinking is lost. We keep hearing very proudly that a lot of research is going on in the Sanskrit language for translations, for computers, and Sanskrit will be the language of the computers. And yet, if you want to learn Sanskrit, go to Germany, not in India. Yeah? In India, they'll call it saffronization. Yeah? And yet, it's the fashionable color even till today. Destroy a language, you have destroyed a culture, you have destroyed a potential, an ability, a faculty in the human mind. Certain words cannot be translated into other languages. The most refined language, which is called as Samskrita, alone can give you a refined personality, a cultural personality. A cultural language can teach, not a commercial language. Each language has got its own beauty, each language has got its own ability, and each language, and therefore in the English language, we did not have most of the scientific word. We adapted it from Greece and Latin, is it not? Many of the words that you use today in English, especially the scientific language, medical language, botanical language, you didn't have it in English. English was surely a commercial language. Yes, over a period of time we have developed it. And the only way you can destroy people from their culture so that they can no longer read their books of knowledge. Earlier times, these barbarians or these invaders in different countries, whether they went to Greece, whether they went to Rome, whether they came to India, whether they went to Persia, wherever there was cultural heritage and knowledge, first thing they did was destroy the libraries. In India, they could not even destroy the libraries. Why? Because it was an oral, lived tradition. By the 20th century, all the educated ruling masses of the country were all English-speaking people. Sanskrit language for quite some time, to protect its purity, first maybe became the heritage only of a few Brahmins who earlier may have kept that language to keep it protected, to keep the scriptures protected from it distorting, whatever may be the reasons of it. Finally, it became a heritage of only the Brahmins. The common masses did not know the language in which the scriptures were given. And great saints, what Tulsidas ji did by bringing the Ramayana into Hindi. What Sant Gyaneshwar did by bringing the commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita in Marathi. They all had to face Tukaram, the Abhangs. They all had to face from these Pandits and Brahmins a lot of opposition. So, in-house opposition, external sabotage. Can you imagine how India, from its great pristine glory, was brought down to what they call a third world country? And every Indian was made to feel that without us, you cannot survive. Without us, you have no source of knowledge. Without our being in your country, you have no railway, nor you have any history. All our mighty architectures were built by invaders, according to them. Thus, the last 100 years or 150 years, we've been growing up with no pride in our country, no gaurav in Bharat. And when you do not have, as you know personally, when you do not have your self-esteem and you have a poor image about yourself, you will lack confidence. And without confidence, you are a weak person who can be ruled by anybody. Individually, you have seen or not? And when that happened nation-wise, I'm also explaining what we say, Bharat Gauravaya Namah. When it happened nation-wise, that land which was called as Bharat, Bharata, those who revel in light, those who revel in knowledge, that land was called as Bharat. Till today, it is the source of all spiritual knowledge in the world. They say that, the religion that is the maximum number or growing, have no illusions. Today, everybody is practicing yoga in the world, belonging to any religion, any race of the world. But they try to say, yoga is spiritual, not Hindu. Well, Hinduism is not just one path, etc. Not this word Hinduism was original to India. This Sanatan Dharma, this type of vastness and universal knowledge, which will help any individual from any background to grow, develop, transform themselves and transform society, was there in everything that was produced in India. That's why it was so universal. Until today, it is its ideologies, its principles that keeps on saving the world when every other religion distorts and has got no means for self-upliftment. And when Bhagavan says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, abhyutthanama dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. That master is the call of that time. To introduce back our languages, to introduce back Sanskrit is not immediately a job that can be done. Because even our mindsets have changed. And therefore, master is the call of the time. What Gurudev did with the English language, in fact, India got its freedom also because people went and the strategy was there. The Indians who went there, like Mahatma Gandhi and others, who went to England to study, understood the mindset of the British, and therefore they could fight against the British even without weapons. With his firm spiritual values of Sanatan Dharma, Mahatma Gandhi could fight with the British with its principles of non-violence, ahimsa paramo dharma. In India, non-violence is considered as the supreme dharma. But non-violence doesn't mean that you don't protect yourself. Soldiers should not fight in the battlefield. After all, Gita was given where? Without causing the least harm to achieve what you want to achieve. That is the dharma of India. All these values, all this source of knowledge, all this self-pride, the British destroyed. And today, having for years rulers of the country who do not have the vision. And we have all been brought up like that only. But again, whatever is the trends of those times, we should save the essence and bring it. So both ways. What did Gurudev do? As he was growing up, his family was one of the elite families of society. There were judges in the family, there were people with all these government positions. And Balan, he was a mischievous boy, and he says himself, I had everything in my life. Yeah? I was needy of nothing. I took life as though for granted. And his mischief, his fooling around, even in school and college, took it very easy. And of course, all said and done, in every generation, whatever the fashions the youngsters come up with, the adults always think it is wrong. Yeah? And every youngster has to fight for his fashion. Now, unless it is indecent, youngsters have to be allowed to follow their fashions. What is the trends of that time? It's funny, no? During the time we were growing up, before that, even when we were children, it was fashion to put oil in the hair. Because you had to set, if, of course, Elvis was quite popular. Then our film heroes in India were following that fashion. And all our aunties and governesses and mums were watching those movies, and they all want to dress their children accordingly. So apply oil, which is good for your hair, and then you set it, Anyway, by you become teenagers, you want your own fashions. And of course, we came luckily after the hippie era, where everybody had long, long hair. So the fashion came of long hair. But during our time, it came about long hair, but well-cut hair. Amitabh Bachchan fashion. Yeah. And if you had that hair, our principals and teachers would get so upset and angry, and even parents, cut your hair, cut your hair, cut your hair. When I came to the school, my principal is shouting at everybody, you cut your hair so short, go back home. And I used to say, come on. So, if the youngsters want short hair, the parents will have long hair. If they have long hair, they will say short hair. If they have unruly hair, shape your hair. If they've got spikes, Gurudev also was following the trends of that time, and his was even more. If you see his photograph, such sleek hair. They didn't have gel. And in Kerala, one thing is commonly available, everything is coconut maya. And now you know the world is being rolled by Kerala, because now everything is coconut, coconut, coconut. Yeah? So apply that hair and then shape his hair. And his father used to get very upset about him. No? But who knows what nature was bringing out of this personality. He knew very well the trends of those times, and the previous generation was always in opposition of it. And his father used to say, what so much oil you're putting in your hair? And very good clothes. He was popular. I know anybody is like that, trendy, popular, savvy. So he was the leader of the, let's say, pack. If you read the book, he did it. It said that he used to take his examination so he was very clever, very intelligent. He would take his classes so casually that finally he got admission only in literature. So that time arts was considered, a good subject. Then when we grew up, it was science. Now everything, you can't do anything, you do management. Why I'm explaining all these things is to see how nature molded this personality, just like Mahatma Gandhi, Lokmanya Tilak. All these personalities gaining English education, keeping their tradition, the strength of their traditions, patriotism to their country, their value systems of their traditions, and learning the strategies by the English language and dealing with the English people, British people, with their way of thinking, with their language. Thus, Gurudev got into English literature and also got into law, and his father was very happy. At least he'll be a lawyer, because he definitely knows how to argue, to debate over everything. Even then, his friends tell that he was the limelight of the group. Something or the other, he used to go on speaking. And I tell you, I have met Keralites, they love speaking. Not those Keralites who grow in Tamil Nadu or something, Keralites from Kerala, they love speaking. And he was the charm of the group, And he mastered English literature, definitely. And later on, as you know, he became a journalist. And words in English, just flowed out of him in such a way that even as he used to write about Shankaracharya, that the Sanskrit language just would flow and mold according to his thoughts. Same way the English language used to just flow out of him. And when he thought of bringing this knowledge of the Upanishads in English to the masses, you've heard about it. There was opposition from the orthodox and the traditional. And even the sincere sadhus and saints thought that this English-bred people only into their English, lifestyle of only going for dance and waltz. You'll experience all this, don't worry. This camp is experiential. Then afterwards, when in Delhi, he saw this hollow lifestyle of modern society of that time. Only parties, drinking, just dancing, gossiping, talking politics, which they knew nothing about, criticizing religion, though he himself, really speaking to say, we like to publicize Gurudev as a skeptic, agnostic, he said that. But deep down, there was always that urge in him to know. That was always there. The seeking was always there in him. It's just that every youngster, lucky are you all who came into contact with this type of teaching, because Gurudev knew how to reach out even to youngsters in their language, not only the language we speak, but their lingo also. How he molded the language. Just recently I was in Bombay and somebody was telling about, because not all of us has heard everything, but somebody was telling that when somebody asked Gurudev, who is a samsari? Samsar, the world. Samsari means one who belongs to the world. Who is a samsari? And Gurudev would say, Samsari? Samsari? He said, who is somewhat sorry. How he communicated it in one or two words, what a word means in English. If you know Sanskrit language and can read the Sanskrit language, you see his commentaries, how in the English language, those words which really have no translation in English, how he has molded it for you to get that idea. Now, because that's the language we have been brought up with. We have lost even our mother tongues. We do not know any Indian language, and he foresaw that. It was not that he spoke in the language that few Indians were speaking, and it was those educated masses. Very often said that those educated masses are the ruling masses, and if they are not transformed, how can the country be transformed? But his vision was far, far greater. The very few visionary saints. He knew that the education system, old education system, has been totally destroyed. And the new education system, the masses will be educated in English. And therefore, if this knowledge is not, and the mischief was always, how is the world converted into their favorite religion, is because they lost their own language. One of the strategies of conversion is teach your language so that they can read your scriptures, your books of knowledge. You can then influence the children from childhood. Today, even in India, all the English-bred youngsters have no pride in their culture, no pride in their religion. Why do you think Gurudev opened in English a modern school with all the modern facilities as well as modern education, and yet give along with it the traditional, the cultural, the spiritual values and upbringing? The Bal Vihar, the Yuva Kendras. He was a visionary master. It is such masters that have been in our country whose teachings, whose vision continues. So, when he says Āngla-bhāshā-Viduttamāya Namah, that diplomat pointed out to me when he asked me the question that why is it that India was ruled by the British for so many years? I told him, yeah, there was invasions after invasions. India had lost, its pride. India had lost, there were no warriors left, and all I was telling all these things. The whole spirit of India had only broken up by the Mughals already. Then the British came in. I told all these things, which are all part of the way India was broken down. But he said, I have always wondered. Also we say the British came with the guns, but we had only spears and arrows, and that's why they shot down, whether it's Africa or India, or whether it was the Aborigines of Australia, they were shot down. We didn't have those weapons. So all these, you say, he said there were only 1,000 British soldiers who came to India. 1,000 British soldiers who came to India. Even if they said 10,000 soldiers, if only the Indians were to stampede over them, they would be finished. So how difficult it was to destroy the invaders. It was an interesting argument he put up. So I said, you tell me. He says, when I went to England, I met one of the generals who were present in India. And I asked them, how could a few thousand soldiers from so far away rule a country like India with such a big population? You know what he said? And that's what McLaw and other planned. He said, because we made the Indians admire us, and every Indian wanted to be a babu. In Kerala, many people are still called babus. Everybody wanted to become a babu, means everybody wanted to live the lifestyle of an Englishman. That is how we enslaved the entire country. First, of course, the cities and the villages can't do anything right now. This is how Gurudev's vision, that the generations of future will be knowing the English language. And if we do not bring our ancient knowledge, traditions, culture in that language, we are bound to lose it. Though their masters like Swami Vivekananda and all have spoken in English, that's why they were in Chicago. But to this extent, to bring the depth of the knowledge which we find in the Sanskrit language, and to bring it in the English language, which today is the language we all know, and to communicate those ideas. And as I pointed out, when a language is lost, a way of life only is not lost, a way of thinking is lost. Arts, crafts are lost, a certain ability and talent is lost. How many of you can take a fine needle and do embroidery? With a steady hand. Your ability is gone because all the time you're only... Yeah, you develop new abilities. There's no doubt about that. But that you just need a click of the button. Ever since calculators came in, we stopped calculating in our mind. Therefore, so poor are we mathematically. And we come from a country which gave the world numbers, alphabets, and the concept of the most unimaginable numbers, which is 0 and infinity. What I'm trying to say is how we lose the faculty. You know, very often our school children come meet me in the evening and they discuss, and first thing is, first of all, Swamiji, my concentration is not there in class. Swamiji, how do I get better marks? Of course, I give them an inspiring talk. Sometimes they say, but Swamiji, how can I be inspired? I do not like geography. And why should I study geography? Why should I study mathematics? I want to be a doctor. What will I do with mathematics? Or an engineer said, why this biology? Oh, those who are into engineering, they can't stand biology. Why this biology? Swamiji, why jogging in the morning? Oh, No longer our children ask this, but I tell you, the ones who have come here, their only question was, why should we have jogging in the morning? Swamiji, why the spiritual classes? All subjects develop a certain faculty in your mind. Yeah? If mathematics teaches us to think logically and make us use the left side of our brain, I'm just saying generally, arts, craft, music, help us to develop the right side of our brain, the creative side of our brain. And today in business, when they say think out of the box, creative thinking, most business people cannot think creatively. Why? Because they have been brought up mathematically. All commerce courses were only counting money. Yeah? Not the creativity. I'm taking in great details this thing. One thing to realize, what was the vision of Gurudev? And when Gurudev taught this knowledge, it was not just some knowledge from the scriptures, it was not just some knowledge of some, culture or some old tradition, or spoke in English because that's the language he knew, or because we knew that language. Just recently in Coimbatore, when Gurudev's Jyoti Yatra came, there's a gentleman who says that he met Gurudev only once. He's a man of great repute, even at a national level. And Gurudev had called him that these funds which I have raised, I want you to secure it in such a way that it will be used over a period of time only for seva. And his thing, that such a great planner, visionary was Gurudev. And he pointed out, we have been all hearing that Gurudev spoke in the English language, and thanks to that, all of us really speaking, including myself, that we could get this knowledge of Vedanta. We are ever grateful for it. But what has he done, not only to transform the country, but the world? This man is an economist, he's an accountant, he's a consultant for the government of the country, all these things. And he was talking about what is called as advancement progress. He says, today we give Scandinavian countries to be the ideal country where everything is public welfare. The economy of the country is all for the people, etc. No. He says that can happen in a small society, but you call that as progress, because all children are brought up by the state. The parents don't bring up the children. And therefore, when the parents grow up, medical care has to be given by the state. And everybody is talking about now the government never has any money, because the government very often loots the money. Every country, don't say only India. Where does all the money go if it does not go back to the people? So, if you think, he said, now they're talking about privatization, privatization, privatization. But what is privatization? Some company again taking up, some insurance company taking up and making medical care free? Is it possible? And especially for a country which has got over 1 billion population. Privatization can only take place where every family member takes charge of the family, as you saw how people took care of Gurudev. Family unit destroyed, culture, tradition, knowledge sources, language, all get destroyed. And are we not imitating that which the West is suffering from? The family unit broken down, loneliness. From that comes all the addictions. And he said, it would be the English-speaking people of the country who were the connection between the East and the West. Gurudev has said that, but never has he glorified his work. But this man, with giving us economic statistics, pointed out, he said, none of you can even imagine what this mission, and he is not a devotee, he has not been with Gurudev much, but that one meeting with him, and then learning about his work and his vision, he said that it is the English-speaking crowd that is the link between the West and the East. They are the ones who could bring the best or the worst to the country and project the best and the worst to the world. They are the filters. And if that was not the public that Gurudev would cater to, then already see what has filtered from the West through such the generation over the past. The country by now would be a disaster.